Hello YouTube, this is Space Case Hitman, your resident futurist, and this is episode 1. In this project, I'm going to explore the future of mankind, from gadgets to gizmos, and politics to the cosmos, and everything in between. Today is Tuesday, December 15th, 2015, and the future project begins now. Pause for title sequence. If this thing gets about 42 likes, then I'll go ahead and actually make a title sequence. But, 42 being the answer to everything and all. Now, for today's episode, I'm going to be talking about world government and the non-aggression principle, as well as communist and capitalist trading systems, all of which very good stuff. Now, it's very important to note that world government is not being spoken about here in the same way that a lot of the conspiracy theorists and even the politicians would like me to be talking about it, which would be the totalitarianist, one-size-fits-all type of government, which it is not. By means of world government, I'm not talking about a government that has the power of taxation or regulation. They are not allowed to use force against one another. And this, of course, follows along with the non-aggression principle. In order for mankind to survive and actually thrive in the future, we have to be voluntarist. We cannot sit there and use force to try and get what we want out of people. It just doesn't work, and it causes a lot of problems. Death, destruction, mayhem, all that. So the way a real world government would work is it would be voluntarily funded, and it would basically be a large-scale security force for the entire world, rather than being just the police force for one nation or one particular situation. They would go out and they would police things like human trafficking, murder, or if a country decides to voluntarily fall under a totalitarian rule and winds up creating big war machines trying to take over other countries, that would be stopped by a world government. Now, in that particular case, what you would have is you would have three different types of organizations. You would have communists, the capitalists, and the totalitarianists. And then, of course, the totalitarianists would probably be the majority of the population, as they always are. That would fade out over time. You'd see the communist countries getting a large amount of people who are developing new technologies, spacecraft and things like that. And you would see the capitalists developing new technologies and improving on the technologies that the communists have already made. They would be the ones creating the roads. They'd be the ones who would have the new version of the flying car out every 3 years. They would be the ones who generate electricity and heat for the entire world, and they would sell it. Those who would create new technologies to match the market's demands. Those types of people would be in the capitalist side, and of course the communist side would be kind of like the DARPA of that. And for those of you who don't know what DARPA is the defense agency in America charged with developing outlandish ideas, laser missile defenses, hovering tanks, things like that. Just things that are really outlandish, but they develop some majorly cool technologies, including the internet, which I am finally on. Yay. Now, the best way to deal with the future is to organize in ways that each and every individual has their own different philosophies, their own different ideas, different strokes for different folks. And people who are of like minds would come together and create countries, not those who can tax other people. When you sit there and get away